Good evening, traders. This is CloudChartist with your weekly Ichimoku update for the week ending December 18th. This is Sunday night, the December 20th. I apologize, I did not make a video last week. You might be able to tell from my voice I have a bit of a cold, something like viral bronchitis or something like that. So I'm going to try to get through this video without having a coughing fit. I've been hearing that this thing is like a 3-week affair, which is a bummer, but whatever. It's good to get sick once a year or so, I think. All right, we're looking at the ES here on the daily time frame. We don't want to be looking at the daily, we want to be looking at the weekly. Sorry about that. Looking at the ES on the weekly time frame. Pardon me. I'm going to try not to clear my throat all the time. I want to point out also that I'm making this kind of late. I try to make the video before the new contract, the new candle opens, and I wasn't able to do that today. So you'll see that like we have little new candles starting off on all of these weekly charts. So please look at the last week's candle, not the new candle, when I'm talking about the analysis on these charts. So looking at the ES weekly, we see that last week or 2 weeks ago we closed inside the inside the cloud, so neutral, and between the Tenkan-sen and the Kijun-sen. So we had a pretty well-defined range. We had, well, actually two range definitions to work with. We had the Tenkan-sen here at 2046.75, and we had the top of the cloud here at 2072.48. Then we had the Kijun-sen down here around 1978, and then the bottom of the cloud down here around 1973.50. So I was, expecting that we would trade inside this range. We did break the range to the upside and we went all the way to the top of the cloud. So if you were aware of the top of the cloud level here at 2073, that would have, let me see exactly what the high was. 2072.75 was the high. So that would have been a nice area to get short, obviously. Beautiful area to get short. Of course, it's not. It's never so easy during price action than it is to look at the weekly chart. But so we see that we sold off quite a bit. We didn't get all the way down to the bottom of the Kijun-sen, but we came pretty close. And then put in a really small candle body, so meaning that the open and the close ended up being pretty close together, despite putting in this very large candle. So what do we have for this upcoming week is we have Christmas week, so it's going to be a shortened week, and also probably not a lot of volume. So we have the same range to deal with. We have the 2046.75 to the top upside, and the Kijun-sen at 1978.63 to the downside, and then also the cloud at 1972.16. It would be quite bearish if we did lose the Kijun-sen, and especially quite bearish if we did lose the cloud on a closing basis. I figured that we'll probably stay within this range between the Tenkan-sen and the Kijun-sen, but I'm just guessing, of course. I don't know what price action is going to do. If we do get up here towards 2046.75, you might consider trying to take that level as a short. Pretty good risk reward to do so, I would say. Also make note there's the Chikou here, this red line representing price time shifted 26 periods into the past. The Chikou is potentially could come down and get support at the top of the cloud. So that's around 1986, 88, or sorry, more like 1988. That 1988 level obviously has been important in the past. So, and then as far as what's coming up in the future, we still have this thick cloud for the ES, so price could continue to move sideways inside the cloud for a while. Then when we get into into the end of February, the beginning of March, the cloud gets really thin, and then we have a cloud twist, and then still a more thin cloud here. So price action could be drawn back towards this whole area throughout that time period from March till into the beginning of the summer. Unless it's breaks through it to the downside, or unless if we do get a significant bullish move back over the cloud, then we could potentially look for the Tenkan-sen to offer support and carry us along as a like a bridge over this area. So we'll see what happens. I have no idea. Let's move on to crude. CL is bear flagging underneath the Tenkan-sen. We do have a oversold condition here that crude can always become more oversold, as you can see in this previous time period in end of 2014, beginning of 2015. But we do have a green candle from last week after making a new low. And we do have previously, let me zoom in and make it easier. Previously, we had the Tenkan-sen pointing down. Now we have the Tenkan-sen flattening out. When Tenkan-sen goes flat, that's often a sign that mean reversion is due and that we could get a bounce to the upside. So I'm looking for the potential for a bounce in crude, which would be limited by 41.43 to the upside. So that's a good $5. There's no reason that it necessarily has to do that. In fact, we see this prior bear flag action underneath the Tenkan-sen. Same thing happened. We got this bearish candle, then we got this doji type candle, and then we had a flat Tenkan-sen above. We did try to make some bullish progress up towards the Tenkan-sen, but we did not get all the way to the Tenkan-sen, and then we just completed the bear flag and made a move down. So the same thing could happen here just as easily, and we'll see what happens. But overall, crude is obviously still bearish under the cloud. I'm going to leave it at that. Let's look at NASDAQ. NASDAQ, we see that we lost the Tenkan-sen for the first time in quite a while. Let's see, the last time we lost the Tenkan-sen was here in September. We closed pretty much right on the Tenkan-sen the week before last, and then last week we closed inside the Tenkan-sen. So we have a new range to deal with for the NASDAQ, which is important. We have resistance up here at the top of the Tenkan-sen at 45.9725. We have support down here at 43.68, 43.69 area at the top of the cloud. Then we also have additional support if we do break into the cloud at the Kijun-sen down here at 43.2388. Note that the Chikou is above the candles here, so that's still bullish. We want that situation to maintain, but we'll notice that this candle top, we're kind of like right at this candle top right now. And then next week we could go all the way down. We don't have any candle support until down here, so that's one thing to make note of as far as the Chikou giving us some clues for the NASDAQ. So I do expect a range between the Tenkan-sen and the top of the cloud probably, unless we get over the 45.9725, then we could go back to the highs. So we want to look for that on a closing basis, and also on a intraday or intra-week basis. That would be, that level is key for upside if you want to be long the NASDAQ. Let's look at the Dow. Interestingly, the Dow closed just a hair underneath the weekly cloud here. It looks like, let's zoom in. Yeah, just a hair under. So it's real important to see if the Dow can get back into the cloud or if it gets rejected by the clouds. It's right on the edge here. I mean, it's kind of getting rejected by it right now, although we're up 37 points this evening so far, but we were up a little bit more, so we're not really able to quite get into the cloud. If we do get into the cloud, then we would look to 17457 to the upside here, the Tenkan-sen to offer resistance, and then the top of the cloud also to offer resistance at 17,800. If we are unable to get it back into the cloud, then we can look for potential support down here at the Kijun-sen at 16680. Also, the bottom of the cloud could offer potential support at 16663, which is not that far away from the Kijun-sen. And that's where the Chikou would find support at the bottom of the cloud. So technically, we're at the moment bearish, unless we inch back into the cloud. We did put a close under the cloud, so we're bearish for the Dow. Let's look at gold. Gold is bear flagging basically underneath the cloud. We do have a flat Tenkan-sen above right now, so we could get some mean reversion back to the upside. We are last week's candle put in a lower low and a lower high and a lower low, so we are in a downtrend. We did get some buyers coming in, so we have a significant bottoming tail. This could be a potential reversal candle, but the new candle is opening under this body of this prior candle, so we would need, that doesn't mean anything because it's just open, but we need a higher high and a higher low to confirm the potential reversal that this candle could bring. And then to the upside, we have this flat Tenkan-sen above at 111. Sorry, at 1114.30. So, but you know, this 1089, 1090 area has been, you know, obvious resistance for a while. So I'll look to that area first for gold. And it's entirely possible, I think, that we could break this resistance, this support area around a 1055 and make a new low. We are bearish after all in bias. Let's look at silver. Similar to gold, we see that silver is in a downtrend. We did put in a new low last week at 1362. We do have a flat Tenkan-sen above here, which could attract price upwards, but we're pretty far away from the flat Tenkan-sen. We do have some sellers coming in, making a topping tail on this candle. This candle is more of a spinning top doji with almost equal topping tail and bottom tail. So we'll see what happens. We'll look to this 1388 level to potentially provide support, and if not, we could make a new low with silver. And then to the upside, we have some obvious resistance around 1460, then about 1475, let's say, and then at the Tenkan-sen up here at 1499. Let's look at corn. Do a few grains. People have been asking me about grains. Corn is inside the cloud, so neutral in Ichimoku terms. And wow, that was actually corn. The new weekly candle hasn't opened yet for corn, so we don't have that to worry about. But we have, I think it opens at 8. We have this is the real last week's candle. So we did sell down quite a bit below the cloud, and then we bounced back up and closed above the Tenkan-sen and inside the cloud. So that could be bullish for a reversal to the upside. If we do reverse to the upside, the candle will be about here. We will have some resistance at 382.30 thereabouts, but we could actually break through. This is a cloud twist, so we could actually break through to the upside, and if we do, that would be a real obvious place to do it. So if we do that, you know, we're looking at more like 400 for resistance. There's this open gap here from back in July, so keep that in mind as well. That would be a really significant move, though. You know, so that'd be like a $15 move. Not impossible, but we'll see. Let's look at soybeans. Soybeans put in a bullish reversal, still in downtrend, but you know, significant bounce off the lows and close above the Tenkan-sen after closing below the Tenkan-sen last week. So we do have this range where we're looking at 944.63 to the upside and 878.63 to the downside. Tenkan-sen here, and that's about it. Otherwise, we're bearish for soybeans, but you know, it's a pretty bullish candle for last week. Let's look at corn, soybeans. Let's look at wheat. Wheat still bearish, finding resistance at the Tenkan-sen once again at 498.13. It's important if you want to be bullish wheat that we get over that 498.13 level. We did put in a red candle, very similar to last week's candle, but red. So basically an outside candle. So we were in an uptrend. We put in an outside candle, so we're still technically in an uptrend, but you know that Tenkan-sen resistance is still in play. The Chicow is underneath the candles, so has resistance at the candles. So not looking that bullish. I mean, not looking bullish at all for wheat, not looking that bullish for even a bounce. Let's look at oats. Oats, wow, that's beautiful. Oats, quite bearish last week, but came back up and tested the downward pointing Tenkan-sen at 235.38 and sold off and closed down here around 226. Not looking very bullish for wheat. If we do move lower, we could possibly find support at that 223.41 level, but that 235.38 level obviously seems to be resistance for the moment. If we do manage to get above that, the Tenkan-sen, we could go all the way up to 246.75 on oats, but we'll cross that bridge when it happens. Let's look at, a friend of mine asked me for LE. Let's look at that. LE had some lock limit up action last week. I see that we're putting in some tweezer bottoms here. The Tenkan-sen, after being pointed sharply downwards, is tapering off. It's still pointing downwards, but it's tending to flatten out a little bit. We are kind of pretty close to oversold, but not very oversold on RSI, which so you can think about that a little bit. But so I think that it's key to see whether we can continue higher above these prior lows, and continue to find buyers like above. Let's see where this close was, above below 125.52. And if we do continue to see buyers, we could look for a reversal upwards, maybe towards the Tenkan-sen, maybe towards 133.35. We can look at shorter time frames to get better levels for that. I'll just look at the daily real quick. The daily on LE, after putting in this new low and potential reversal candle, did put in a confirmed reversal and put in a close just slightly above the Tenkan-sen here. So as long as we can hold that close above the Tenkan-sen, we could potentially look for 128.53 above LE. Let's look at I had another request, but I can't actually remember what it was. I think it was, I want to say it was it HO? Let's look at HO. That's pretty cool. I just got a notification that didn't actually go into the recording, hopefully. HO, heating oil futures. No, that's not what I wanted to look at. What did I want to look at? Hogs? Bear with me. I'm sick. And I don't want to look at. I don't know. I give up. I'm not going to look at the other thing that I was supposed to look at. Let's look at coffee, because I always look at coffee. Let's go back to the weekly. Coffee is getting the Tenkan smack down on the weekly. Try to make a bounce, put in a big topping tail, and is continuing lower. The new candle hasn't opened up yet, so this is the actual candle that we're looking at. So the Tenkan-sen is at 119.95, so that's very key for coffee. If you want to even begin to get bullish for a bounce, you want to see coffee over that level of 119.95. And I think, oh yeah, I completely forgot the bonds. Very important. Let's look at the ZB, the 30-year Treasury bond. This is a new candle open. So we got after a very bullish candle the week before last, we got a bullish hammer. The FOMC rate hike didn't really seem to throw people off buying bonds, but we did get a close below the highs. So we'll see what happens this week. If we find sellers, we could come down and test the Tenkan-sen support at 155.07. Then we could move lower to 154.21, the Kijun-sen down here. And that's about it. If the Kijun-sen continues moving higher, we could get potential for a bear cross. We could have price action continue to follow the contour of the cloud here and move lower. We do obviously have a triangle type pattern setting up here. I'm just not even going to try to draw a good version of the triangle. I've been drawing this thing a lot. You know, we got something like that going on here. So I expect a small range for this week. until we figure out what we're doing. Let's look at ZN, and then I think I'm about to start coughing, so I better call it a day. After ZN, so last week, 2 weeks ago, ZN came all the way up to the top of the cloud here, or the bottom of the cloud underneath here, and tested it and closed near the top. And then we actually sold, last week we sold off underneath the Tenkan Sen here, got the Tenkan smack down, closed pretty close to the middle of the candle in this prior support resistance area, 126.15. The new candle is currently right in that area also. So if we move higher, I'll expect a test of 127.055 Tenkan Sen to be in play. And if we move lower, look for potential support around this 125.28 area. Looks pretty good. I mean, there's obviously prior support here. I'm going to wrap it up, getting a phone call. Thanks for watching. And if you want to learn more about Ichimoku, check out my website at CloudChartist.com. Thank you.